Hey everybody, welcome to Cali Girl Blog Talk. I'm Callie, thank you for joining me. And today I'll be reviewing Love and Marriage in Huntsville, Season 5, Episode 10, Preaching to the Liar. All right, y'all, so we start off right where we left off, and that is at Stormy's Peace Party, where Melody is explaining that she believes the most recent issue between her and Destiny was when she attended the Madani launch or relaunch, and she spoke to Destiny by name. However, she believes that something was misheard. Destiny must didn't hear her because Destiny ran out of her building and stated that. Destiny said, I definitely didn't hear anything, and that's why I said that. Mel said, oh, okay, well, I definitely said your name. I said your name and Kimmy's name, and they showed the scene where it took place, and she did speak. Stormy said, knowing that Mel did speak, does it change anything about how you feel? Of course, Destiny said, nope. And Stormy is sincerely shocked. Destiny said, I feel like it wasn't audible enough for me to hear it. And she said, Kimmy, did you hear it? And Kimmy said, like, here I go get pulled in the middle again. She spoke to both of us. Kimmy said, and what I also remember is that Tisha and I were both trying to talk to you after Stormy came in, and it was a hard conversation. I mean, to see everything that you were feeling, you were thinking, it was a hard conversation. So Destiny's backup, aka her cousin, jumped in and said, well, what I think is you felt some type of way because you already felt violated in your space, considering the history that you had with both Mel and Stormy. So first of all, you're looking at them like, how dare you feel the guck and show up at my event? Then when you seen Mel, you was already feeling some type of way when she showed up. And when she didn't speak, she said, I was watching you, I saw you. And when Mel didn't speak, it just took you over. You exploded. Destiny said, I exploded inside. And Tisha said, it was all over you. Your body language said it all. Unbeknownst to me is how Stormy came up with this conclusion. She said, well, what I just heard was a great step forward. So is it safe to say that you guys are cool? Cool because of what, Stormy? Girl, what? You really wishing on a star with this peace party. You got to give things time. It's a lot of history. It's not just that. Neither Destiny nor Mel said anything. And then Mel said, you know what? I think it's crazy that we don't normalize people just feeling how they feel. You know, if people want to get over stuff, they can. If they don't have to. Like trying to force something. Why can't we just normalize that people feel how they feel? If I'm cool on you, I'm cool on you. Just let that be that. I was totally in agreement with what Mel said. She said, you know, we so busy trying to force things. It's okay for people to not have a relationship with each other. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to just have no relationship, just a level of respect, but you're over there and I'm over here. And that's just that. Destiny said, I agree with that 100, all of that. Touche. And she lifts her glass in the air and she's as though she's cheering to the sentiment. And they cheer each other. Okay. They both clink glasses, Mel and Destiny. And I was with it like, yes, honey, I'm good on you. You good on me. Cool. No problem. We agree on that. In her confessional, Mel said, you know what? I'm fine with Destiny feeling how she feels, even if she's angry, as long as she don't take it out on me. But Destiny seems to be fine with where she's at and how she feels. I'm fine with where we're at, and everybody else around us needs to be fine with that as well. Totally agree. Some energies just don't need to engage, and if they do, in a limited capacity. Kimmy says, so we're all fixed, and Stormy said, we're all fixed. Destiny, well, I don't know about that. Well, what's the problem? You guys just clink to being cool off each other. So what else do you need to fix and with whom? Thanking everyone for attending. She said that feels like a gift to her. Stormy gave gifts to them, and she gave them all a canvas beauty purse full of her products. So everybody's departing, and Kimmy and Mel walk out together. And Mel stops her and says, I just wanted to ask you, I noticed you tearing up back at the party. Is everything okay? Because I'm not used to seeing you do that. And Kimmy is like, yeah, I just got a lot, going on. And Mel is like what? She's trying not to pry, but she's concerned. And Kimmy said, just some things that I'm not really ready to share yet. In her confessional, Kimmy says she sincerely thanks Mel for, reaching out to her. She said, and she loves Mel. She said, but she's just not ready to share the information until she gets the results back from the biopsy so that she is, sure of what exactly is going on. So it's the next day, and we are at the Scott's home, Marsau and Tisha. He said it's date night or maybe date day. He said the kids are somewhere. He doesn't know where because that's not his department. That's Tisha's department. What parent don't want to know where their child is? It's the department of every parent to know where their child is, not just one. Anywho, he said, contrary to popular belief, he is a romantic guy. And so he's planning a romantic evening, a picnic on the carpet. So he calls her downstairs and it looks nice. It's a nice setup. It's cute. She says, so what's the reason for all of this? And he said, I was just thinking about how I want to be better, how I can be a better dude for you. It's different, a different Marsau than we've ever seen. He told her that she's deserving of him being a better guy. And she's like, I appreciate that. And I was like, did that talk that he had with Courtney on the last episode get him to thinking when Courtney was saying work together? I don't know. This is just an interesting turn of events one episode later. She said, did the couples therapy bring this on? Because if so, I like it. And he said, well, I just want you to know that whether I think something is wrong or not, if you think something is wrong, I want you to know that, I love you. There's love on the other side of everything that you're going through. So I guess he doesn't want her to feel like she's by herself. I'll give an example. At the dinner that they had, when she was lying, trying to cover up for her mama's reckless actions, Marsau turned around and agreed with Mel, kind of left her on the island by herself in front of everybody, which we've seen him do before. So maybe he's making up for that. Who knows? But the point is he wants to be better. So he says. Tisha continues to talk about what she appreciated out of the couples trip. And here go Marsau being on the male egoism tip as he normally is. He said, yeah, but out of the three couples, I think Dr. Francis went really hard on Tiffany and Lewis, mainly Lewis. Like everything that Lewis said, he was wrong. Tisha said, no, he went in on Tiffany too. It was both of them. And he said, I just think Dr. Francis is extremely biased. I don't think Dr. Francis is biased. I think he points out what is obvious, but what you tried to bury. I think that's what happens. And if there are more faults with one person than the other or one couple than the other, that's just a little bit more work that you have to do. But I don't get biased. That's the thing about therapy. When it comes to you getting help, this is for your help. This is your work. This is for your tools. He said he felt like he himself couldn't say nothing right. Everything he said was wrong. The thing that we've yet to see, Marsau, is you embrace anything, any advice, any work that he's giving you. We haven't seen you embrace that. Because everything he says to you, you claim that's wrong. In his confessional, he said Dr. Francis has a bias against men. He said he was talking to the Whitlows as a couple, but he was mostly coming for Lewis when it comes to areas of improvement. And I'm like, no, Marsau, it seems to me that you come across as though you have a bias against change. He said he believes that Dr. Francis believes that all masculinity is toxic and therefore he may not be the right therapist for him. If that's how he feels, then no, that's not the right therapist for him. He needs to find one that's right for him, but he cannot expect to find one where change is not going to be required. Otherwise, you're wasting your time and your money, sir. Tisha said, okay, well, with the new therapist, what will be your criteria? He said, when you're looking for a therapist, I said, ding, ding, ding. He said, when you're looking for a therapist, it's couples therapy. He didn't like Dr. Francis, which is what she chose, which is whom she chose, but yet he's putting it on her again to meet his therapeutic needs. Now, how dumb is that? Anyway, he said, when you're looking for a therapist, make sure you can see how they're living and that their life is an example of something that we can, follow and really take advice from because they are actually living what they're saying, as though Dr. Francis is lying and doesn't apply those same tools to his life and his marriage. Okay. He has a misunderstanding about therapy because when you go to therapy is not where you go to the therapist and they sit there and they display their life story before you. They don't need the work. Not coming from you. You need the work. So what does he want them to live out in front of him in an hour session? He said, we don't need to learn from a perfect person because perfection is fake. It's not about perfection, but it is about giving you the tools so that you can work your situation through. Who wants to go to a therapist with hopes of continuing to be broken? You want to be fixed, right? Convoluted idea of therapy, I tell you. In their confessional, Tisha said, if getting Marsau to go to therapy is finding a new therapist, then I guess I'll find him a new therapist. I'll find him a new therapist. Do you pick his doctor too? His primary doctor? And as she wastes her time looking, he replies and says, and I will continue to consider possibly going to couples therapy, maybe. So she's just wasting her time searching and searching for your therapist while you're still considering even going possibly maybe. They move on and Tisha explains, we have 2 little girls and their oldest girl, Macy, is 10 years old. And so she's at the age where she will begin her cycle. So she's going to have a period party. And there's a company that basically educates them on welcome to womanhood, the things that you're going to go through as your body starts to change and you develop into a full-grown woman, and how, little girls or young girls, they are embarrassed, but this is to teach them that this is not something that you should be embarrassed about. This is something that should be embraced and celebrated, not necessarily them cramps, but the fact that you are growing up, right? So Marsau is looking like, oh my gosh. And then he gonna say in the confessional, so, okay, I'll let you deal with the period parties and I'll just work with MJ teaching him how to drive and everything. And then he says, so what are the dads supposed to do while you guys are having this party? Tisha said, well, the dads are not going to be there. It's just for the mom and the girls. And they're going to invite some other little girls or whatever. Here go Marsau all over the place. One minute he's saying it's Tisha's department. Next thing you know, when he's not invited, he says, well, I think that's sexist. All over the place. I can't with Marsau. So next we see Kimmy and Maurice. They're on their way to her biopsy appointment. She's crazy nervous, which is completely understandable. And she says, in her confessional, she said, she wants to be optimistic for herself, everybody. But she also has to face the reality that, the 2 lumps, one in her lymph node and one in her breast, could both be cancerous. And she said, that'll be tough. She said she's impressed by how fast the doctors are moving. She's been contacted by 3 different nurses, and from the time of finding the lumps to calling the doctors to setting up the biopsy, it's literally only been 72 hours with the exception of the weekend popping in. And Maurice says, well, can I go in with you? And she says, I don't know, I'll ask. And she says, I appreciate you coming in though. And he's like, why wouldn't I? And some of the statements that Kimmy has made since the last episode, like, I know you didn't sign up for this, some of her statements reveals how she feels alone. Not saying that he's making her feel alone, but I imagine that when something happens to you, something like that, psychologically, you might feel emotionally alone because you are about to go and embark on this journey. It's interesting to see some of the things that she says to him as her husband. Like, I appreciate you coming into the room with me, as though he would be anywhere else or anything less would be expected. I'm watching this as I'm recording, and he said, I should have been at the last one. And she was like, no, because to take you and everybody else, it kind of makes things more depressing. And so out of protection for her, I think, again, the more people know about it, the more people are trying to console you, the more real and frightening it makes the situation. So she's trying to stem away from all that for now. I get it. He makes a joke and says, okay, so if we go in and everything is regular with the test, I guess you can cook tonight. They laugh at it. It's a little way to lighten things up a little bit. Jokes aside, he said, no, I'm taking over everything. They agree that it's going to work out one way or the other. Regardless, it's going to work out. In her confessional, she says she is a firm believer that Jesus takes care of her personally, and everything that happens and that he allows is for a reason, right? She said we may not agree with it, understand it, but it is for a reason. As the Bible says, all things work together for the good. All things, meaning not just the good, but the bad too. All things work together for the good of those who love the Lord, right? So I feel her. Before they exit the car to go into her appointment, she asks, can they have a word of prayer? He prays a firm, short, but healthy prayer, and they make their way into the doctor's office. Next, we see Destiny. She's having a photo shoot for her new single called On 10, and Melody stops by. So they greet each other with hugs, and it seems like a warm welcome, right? So then in her confessional, she's, talking about the single, and the producer says, how did you feel when Mel came in? And she's like, I don't know how to answer that. And I'm like, you don't know how to answer that, but on screen, you just look like you were happy to see her. So during the shoot, it looks like like they are friends again, okay? They're having a moment. Mel is giving her tips on how to post. I'm gonna stick your leg out, push your hip out, whatever. They look like they're having fun. It looks like the old Mel and Destiny in this moment. So they sit down, sharing compliments or whatever. And Destiny says, thank you for stopping by. And Mel says, I appreciate you reaching out to, ask me to come by. And again, I'm like, Destiny, you asked her to come to the photo shoot. But when the producers asked you in your confessional, how do you feel about her stopping by? You said you don't know how to feel. You can't answer that question as to how you felt. I guess because the conversation went left and you didn't feel like you're going to get the retribution you were hoping to receive in this moment, in this scene, and on camera for the viewers. Oh well, Destiny. So they talk about a video that Mel made while she was in the car, and she was playing Destiny's song on 10, basically promoting it, and she was going to post it, but she said with everything that happened at Madani, that wrecked all of that. So the post didn't go up. She explained to Destiny that she recorded the video long before Madani, but when Madani happened and she spoke to Destiny, Destiny didn't speak back. Destiny said, because I didn't hear you. And Destiny said, and then Mel said, yeah. And then you chased me out the building saying, next time you come in my establishment, you speak. Here go Destiny playing semantics. I didn't say my establishment. I said someone's establishment. Girl. Mel continued and said, so I felt like you weren't even in a space to have a conversation because you didn't speak back when I spoke to you, and then you chased me out the building. Mel said, but had you spoken back to me, the conversation probably would have extended. I would have told you how proud I am of you, so on and so forth. Destiny said, so what was your thought process when I didn't speak back to you? Mel said, I was like, oh, okay, well, she don't feel like being bothered, and I wasn't gonna bother you no more. Destiny says, interesting. In her confessional, Destiny said, the hello wasn't suffice enough because if I haven't seen you since the chairs were thrown. She's talking about Galentine's. Destiny really has these high expectations of Mel, and from what I can see, she can forget it. You're going to get the cordial, you're going to get the respect type of approach, but if you're not going to give it and it's not going to be reciprocated, I don't know what else you expect, but I'm not going to kiss your ace. That's what I'm not going to do. That's me speaking as if I was Mel. She says to Mel, why do you think we're here in this space? And Mel said, for multiple reasons that we've already discussed, but I'm not really here for that because I really don't care about what happened last year because I've made peace with it. So I'm good over here. Destiny said, how can you make peace with one trying to assassinate your friend's character? Mel said, that's what you did. Destiny said, when did I do that? Mel said, girl, you called me a manipulator. Destiny said, I definitely didn't do that. Mel said, you called me a liar and a manipulator. Destiny's like, I called you a liar. Mel is like, yes, ma'am. Destiny said, you called me a liar. Well, we've seen that, Destiny, without her even telling us. Mel said, you know what? I'm sure I did call you a liar if I felt like you lied. Destiny said, I said that I have not spoken to Melody. We've texted and she may or may not respond. And Mel said, and that's when you called me a master manipulator. And they flashed back to last season at the cafe where they were talking, and Destiny basically implied that Mel was stopping her bags. Like Mel is disparaging her character and therefore people don't want to work with Destiny. Mel replied and said, no, it was not a matter of me telling people that they shouldn't do business with you. And in the confessional last season, Destiny said, of course Mel says all the right things like, oh no, I would never, but I would characterize that as a master manipulator. Destiny said, to be clear, I called you a master manipulator because of everything that was going on at the time. Mel said that you hadn't even had a conversation with me regarding that. Destiny said, how can I have a conversation with you when I'm texting you saying, why is everybody saying we have an issue? What is going on? If there wasn't an issue, I'm not sure why Mel did not respond to her text. If they're supposed to be friends, there's no issue. Why is Mel ghosting her? So I understand where Destiny is coming from with that. Like, I'm hearing things from other people, but I'm not hearing from you. Are we good? Mel said, okay, and as a result of that, you then turn around and say, I'm a master manipulator. Destiny said, but did you respond to the text messages? And Mel said, no. And by you not responding, Destiny says, so I found out that you have an issue with me, or we have an issue through other people. Destiny said, based on what's going on or what was going on in social media, a person that she was working with let her know, hey, I'm not going to go further with working with you until you get this stuff straightened out with Mel. You guys have an issue and there's something more to the story. Not knowing that there was an issue, Destiny told the lady, no, we're good. We talked. Like, what are you talking about? Now, in this instance, Mel did not answer her. She passively, aggressively, narcissistically disregarded the statement that Destiny made. And instead she replied and said, look, going all over what happened last year, I'm really not here for that. She said, I don't have a desire to keep killing a dead horse, digging up what happened yesteryear. She said, I'm not here for all that. And in her confessional, she says she does not agree with Destiny's version of what happened at the coffee shop. And I'm like, but do you agree with what she said about the lady saying she will refuse to work with Destiny until the situation is straightened out with Mel? Do you agree that that happened? Because you totally just, skipped right past that one, Melody. I'm just saying. Even if you don't have any control of what other people do in regards to you, you didn't say either way, like, well, they may have done that, but I didn't have anything to do with that, or I wasn't aware of anything like that. I would never try to get in between you working with anybody. You didn't say anything like that. You just skipped right past it and said, well, I didn't come here for all of that. Okay. Now, usually Destiny don't have no points, but in this case right here, just in this situation, that statement that you just disregarded, I gotta call it like I see it. And girl, I see it. I see it, Mel. I see it. And what I saw is that you disregarded her experience. She's explaining to you what happened and you went over it like you gave two shits about it. And that could possibly be true. Anyway, in the confessional, she continued and said, at the peace party, we agreed that we don't have to be friends, but we can at least be respectful and move forward. So I guess that's what she's there for. Not to be friends, just to be respectful enough to say, hey, when we're out, when we're in the same circle, it's not going to be no beef. She said, I'm not doing no drama. I don't want to be a part of any drama, and peace is what it is for me. And Destiny said 100. And in the middle of her talking, Destiny says what she wants to hear so badly and wants to receive so badly from Mel. And she says, you love me, don't you? And Mel takes a deep inhale. In the middle of her inhale, they flash back to their friendship, the good times. Mel gives her an honest answer and says, of course I do. I love you. I may not love everything about you. I may not love all of your ways, but I love you. I miss the friendship that we had. But I'm also in a place where I am okay just being to myself and keeping to myself. And good gracious, I don't know if that's a Scorpio thing. Mel is always hollering that she's a Scorpio. I'm a Scorpio too. But that just may be a person that is okay with how things are, because I felt her on that 1,000%. I am just okay. I love you, but I can love you from over here. And it's not a problem, because that's how I'm protecting my peace. Again, I don't know if it's a Scorpio thing, but baby, when we are done in spite of good times, whatever. Just like in her confessional, she said, what? She thinks about the good times that her and Destiny had, but that's what they are. They're memories of the past. And that's literally where you leave them. She sounds like she's very good at compartmentalizing. Yeah, that's what you got to do. Compartmentalize it, put it where it belongs, and move on. You can tell that Destiny is a little bit more vulnerable and doesn't care about showing her vulnerability, because she says to Mel, when we were friends and our friendship sort of fell apart, it was during a time where we were both going through a divorce. And so we were both each other's support system. And I was like, yeah, kind of, because you sort of went through your entire divorce without telling Mel. While you were there for Mel through her divorce, you didn't allow Mel to be there for you until after your divorce was already in the works or what have you. Anyway, you allowed her to be there as much as you wanted her to be there, child. So she says, but in the middle of, us getting a divorce, it's like we divorced each other, basically the friendship. She said, so as a result of all of that, you and I will always be etched in each other's hearts, because we went through a very hard time. And regardless of my relationship with Martell, you and I, we rock, She said hard. And Mel just puts her head on her hand and says, girl. Again, she's compartmentalizing. Mel is not going to let you see her vulnerabilities regardless of how she feels. And she may feel the same way that Destiny feels, but she has placed her friendship and all that came with it in the past. And that's where she's leaving it. Destiny says, and you know it, and Mel is not giving her anything. In her confessional, Destiny said, it's sad that they will probably never be friends again. They could have been the Thelma and Louise. But you know what? At the peace party, they said that they agreed that, hey, we can be respectful of each other even if we're not friends. But you can see who's hurting from the loss of the friendship the most, while Melody is Teflon Don. So next we see Tisha, and it's the day of the period party, and they are celebrating little girls turning into young women. And I think it's very sweet to see. Because, girl, many of us didn't get any of that, okay? You went from a little girl to a young adult, a young woman, and they told you what to put on, and you went back to school, okay? So educating her girls and the other little girls who are at the party, I think is excellent. So in the middle of the party, Maurice and Kimmy stopped by. We're at the saddest part of the episode. Tisha is surprised to see them. She's like, Maurice, what you doing here? You know no guys are allowed. And he was like, normally I wouldn't have come to something like this. Tisha said, where y'all been? And Kimmy was like, well, we had a couple of appointments today. Her and Maurice said, we have some news we want to share. And Kimmy said, I tried to call you a couple of times. I wanted to tell you and Marsau together, but since he's not here, I'm just going to tell you. And I can't stay, but I have some bad news. Kimmy went on to explain that last week when her and Maurice were having movie night, she found a lump in her breast, and immediately Tisha is visibly upset. Okay, she's hugging her. She's saying no, over and over. And this is the part that Kimmy was talking about where it adds to the realness of what's going on, because Tisha is hugging her and Kimmy has to stop talking. She can't go any further in the conversation at the moment. I'm sure it's very, very overwhelming just to have shared this with somebody outside of Maurice. And Tisha is upset. She's crying. She's hugging her. Tisha tries to gather herself and she apologizes and says she's sorry. Kimmy said, it's okay. It's just something that I didn't think it was appropriate for me to tell you over the phone. She said they did a biopsy, a mammogram, ultrasound and everything, and it is cancerous. And in her confessional, she said on June 22nd, 2022, she received a phone call from her doctor that confirmed the tests were indeed positive for triple negative breast cancer, which just happens to be the most aggressive form of breast cancer. However, she was able to catch it early as she is only in stage 2, and she said that's early. And her prognosis, therefore, is pretty good, but the journey has now begun. Tisha ensures her that, look, I know you're strong. I know you got Maurice, but I want to be there for you. I'm probably not going to call and say, what do you need? I'm probably going to be popping up. It's good to know that you are there for her. Somebody is there for her. As many people that she needs. The village. She starts giving her, fighting words like, it's the three of them hugging, her, Maurice, and Tisha. And Tisha said, you know what? You at the peak of your game. We gonna fight this. Cancer is not gonna win. Slightly switching the subject, Kimmy says, oh, I brought this pouch for Macy because remember when we had our party, we had these black pouches, and I want you to give her this so that she can keep her toiletries in it when she goes to school, and then she starts to choke up. But she's trying to say so that Macy can have something a little compartment that she can keep her toiletries in case, her cycle or something starts while she's at school, and she can have a level of privacy. Tisha just hugs her, still in disbelief, and just saying, I love you, Kimmy. I love you so, so much. In her confessional, Tisha said, she's so disappointed and so sad that Kimmy is going through this. She just can't believe it, and she hates that Kimmy is going through something like this. Maurice and Kimmy leave, and it shows her at the party where she's standing near the door, having just walked in from talking with Kimmy and Maurice outside. She's, cleaning her eyes and wiping her eyes, and she's watching her daughters, and the camera is just on them, showing all of their innocence, because we as women, we face things like that, breast cancer. Not to say that men don't either, because they do, but it's much more common in women. And so the episode ends there. It was good. Thank you guys for joining me. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell button. Prayers up for Kimmy and all women who are dealing with situations that involve any form of cancer. God bless you all. Until next time, peace.